Hello, everybody. Just have a couple buttons to push here. This is being a little bit crazy for me. On. Oh my goodness. Perfect. Beautiful. Hello, everybody. I haven't been live in a while, and I'm live with the amazing galactic historian, Debbie Solaris. I'm so happy you're here, Debbie.
I'm happy to be here too. Like we were just talking before we went live that it's been a couple of years since we both did this together. It seems amazing to think time has passed by that quickly, but we were both in different houses at that time.
I think that's I was thinking it was a year ago, so it had passed by so quickly because right.
It went by pretty fast.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's been an interesting 2 years, but I'm glad to be back, and thank you for having me. It really feels like coming back home or something. Yeah.
No, thank you. I'm so happy to do this. And in the 2 years, you have been on Gaia TV, so you've interviewed several times with George Nory. You've been on, I believe, Open Minds with Regina Meredith. And did you already have your ancient histories or ancient civilizations premiere?
Yeah, that kind of that went in a different direction. Okay. So now they have me on Deep Space. So you'll see me in the newest season of Deep Space, which I think will come out next year sometime. So
cool.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And Gaia is actually in Colorado where you are. So
it is. It's about an hour's drive north from me. So usually they usually give me the VIP treatment. They send a car out, like a town car, to get me. And it's like, oh, I don't even have to drive, I just get to be picked up, and they do the hair and the makeup. So it's really pretty cool. They do treat you really well there.
Did it take a while to get used to like the professional kind of idea of sitting there and talking to somebody who's been interviewing forever?
Yeah, I think at first I was really afraid. I mean, because, when you're out on a studio and there's a bunch of lights in your face and there's this person that you don't know, like you and I, we know each other, we're pretty comfortable, but there's this like strange person you don't know that's asking you questions, and, so it can be intimidating. And then, just being on camera itself can be really intimidating, but overall, I think, since I've been there quite a few times now, I've gotten used to it. So it's not as bad as it was at first.
That's good. Yeah. I remember the difference between film classes and theater classes was that the camera was it was right there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's incredibly awkward. And, it's different because in the theater you would have these big expressions, and on camera they're like, no, you got to tone that down. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because the camera kind of exaggerates everything. So so even like certain facial features might look more exaggerated, or, so you have to really be careful with coming across too over the top, but still it's hard to contain my enthusiasm when I talk about, the topics I love. So
yeah,
that's how it is. But,
well, speaking of topics you love, I think this is going to be a good segue in. For those of you that don't know a lot about Debbie's story, I don't want her to have to spend too much time and retell the story all the time, but you had an amazing awakening in 2012, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And your consciousness was brought onto an Arcturian ship. And this went into like this massive this is, some people I feel like kind of get this rude awakening into
I got the rude awakening. That was,
I always
like my guys had to kick me in the head,
I always think those must be super exciting because I always claim that I've been partially awake, right?
Yeah.
Open portals when I was a kid, could always kind of tell all the different things. And so it's kind of always just, I assumed everyone was like this. And then I hear, people's hair falling out and these crazy Kundalini awakenings and getting taken on ships. And I'm like, gosh, I don't think I've been taken on a ship. That's crazy, right? So,
Yeah, that was pretty extreme, I would say,
mhm.
as far as awakenings go. Uh, but yeah, this happened in 2012, not just once, but twice, once in May and once in December. And pretty much after that, it was like all my, I guess, extrasensory perception came online, and it was quite, I would say, overwhelming at first, being a person that was previously unawakened, and then all of a sudden it's like, I have these abilities and I don't know what to do with them,
Mhm.
and these really strange, out of body and ultra dimensional kind of experiences, so it can be quite disconcerting, when you're, first trying to figure out what was going on. And I ended up taking a lot of spiritual classes, just to try to, figure out, what is this all about? What does this mean? Where is this taking me? What am I supposed to do with this? And I think a lot of people that are awakening have those questions. Like, some people awaken like very gradually, and then others, awaken like me. They're, kind of very abruptly. And so a lot of folks, I think, sometimes will ask these questions, and they might, I don't know, decide, maybe I need an Akashic reading, maybe I need, some sort of explanation
Mhm.
to why, these events are occurring around me,
Mhm.
so that's a lot of the reason why I think somebody will decide to have an Akashic reading,
Yeah.
for that reason, so,
I
so I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, no, it's okay. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
It makes me think about one of the first words that we seem to align with is Akashic. I
Hmm.
don't, I can't even put my finger on it aside
Yeah.
from the fact that it's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a massive galactic library. But
Yeah.
what I want to talk about today, if you're cool with this, is
Yeah.
how much our records have been tampered with. And
Mm.
so it's kind of I kind of have a two-part question here because I want to look at the Akashic records and how they've been tampered with. So what did they look like then? What are they looking like now?
Hmm.
And then I want to see if the uh, like the emerald tablets are in the Akashic records and like
Mm.
kind of get your idea on that. And would they be false or not? Because I kind of have seen, I've had my own records tampered with.
Yeah,
So you
gotcha.
go in and you go in and go, okay, that's not my story or that's
Hmm.
not my thing. So what is your take on when the records were tampered with and how are we reconciling that for people?
Interesting. And on my end, it's 1111.
Mm.
Yeah, so we got some angel numbers or some ascension numbers coming up. So, yeah, so I guess this is a topic that we're supposed to talk about. So, my understanding with the records, and I think maybe other Akashic, practitioners maybe agree with me or don't agree with me, but I do believe that just from, my own works, I've been doing, working with the Akashic records now for over a decade. The dark beings also have access to the records.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So dark beings, they can get the same information we get. Okay.
Mhm.
And the records are pretty neutral, so they're meant to be a neutral space, so, if a dark being wants to get information on us, they can get into the records and get it just as easily as we do. So sometimes they might try to tweak a few things while they're in there. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but they can do a little bit of I would say manipulation of the records. And this seems to have happened, I would say, at least on the plane of, planet Earth. I would say probably started happening probably after the fall of Lemuria. So I think before that, Earth was a fifth dimensional reality, and
Yes. Yep.
Lemuria was, this very beautiful spiritual civilization. And then when Lemuria got destroyed, which happened around, I think, 70,000 BC, something around there. Maybe I'm a little off with the dates, but Earth and then plunged into the third dimension. And that was when, these dark forces started taking more control over Atlantis and maybe even, other civilizations since Atlantis. And there's been manipulation of our Akashic records, manipulation of the reincarnation matrix. So, so that's another big topic. I mean, people get really worried about this thing, and I kind of chuckle a little bit because I don't think this no longer applies. But for a long time on planet Earth, souls were just getting recycled, so they weren't going through the proper, I would say, afterlife process where they go through a life review, and they usually go up to Arcturus because Arcturus is the gateway of souls. And I'm an Arcturian starseed, so I'm pretty connected with this. But they're supposed to go through the Stargate at Arcturus and go through a process of a life review, and then they work with their guides and their Arcturian guides on what goals they want to formulate for the next incarnation, and then they usually get a choice. That's the way the in-between life sequence is supposed to happen. But what happens is, at least on Earth, there was this false reincarnation matrix that souls were getting improperly processed through. And so they never had the opportunity to ascend.
I saw them as like stamped, or like it had an insignia or something, and it's almost like it was attached to that cord of that false matrix, and then you just would go right back. You didn't even really get to pick like where you went.
Oh no, you don't get to pick at all. So you have people that are having one shitty life after another on planet Earth. I'm sorry, excuse my language, but it was pretty shitty. I mean, it was a complete violation of universal law, but they were doing this so that they could continue to feed off the energies, the negative energies from people, that as they're having these shitty lives, so this false reincarnation matrix, my understanding, is either currently being dismantled or has been dismantled. So it's no longer being utilized. So for people that are afraid that, I'm going to go into the false light, is like, no, it's not going to happen. You're going to get processed appropriately. So now for the first time, I would say in thousands of years, maybe many thousands of years, souls are being able to be processed appropriately,
I see that as well.
So we may start seeing Earth souls maybe evolving, and so these are souls that have originated from Earth. So there are many of us now in this timeline are starseeds. We're ancient souls that have been in many different systems, but we may find that people that are younger souls that have only had incarnations on Earth might once start having incarnations in Sirius or Pleiades or other systems, so they'll have the opportunity to ascend.
That's amazing. And this is curious to me because when we look at an Earth, I call it an Earth seed or Earth star, however you see that, were they not part of the original fall? Was it just the starseeds that are part of the fall? And does that mean they have an angelic template or no?
That's a really good question. I do think they were part of the fall on some level because they were also karmically impacted by that, maybe even more so than starseeds. But I think there was more responsibility on our part because we kind of knew what was going on. What we allowed it to
I kind of think certain starseed groups kind of caused the issue. We have a great deal of responsibility.
Oh yeah, and I think that's why a lot of us are here. We're trying to make things right, So, I mean, and we made mistakes. So just because you're higher dimensional doesn't mean that you don't make mistakes. We still have the capacity of making mistakes, but but I understand that, just from my understanding of the Akashic records and, galactic history, that the Syrians played a big part, particularly Sirius C. So some of the beings from Sirius C that I think people now know as the Anunnaki,
Yeah.
but there was also, other Syrian groups that may have had, some involvement. It might have been some Pleiadian groups. I don't know, but
A lot of us go to Sirius, like if we
oh
came,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like I think a whole bunch. Sirius is kind of like Earth, right? Like migratory,
it
or like
is.
a
It
whole
is.
bunch of people just are, or beings are there.
Yeah. Sirius is kind of, I think it's kind of like our spiritual sun,
Mhm.
so there's always been a really close relationship between Earth and Sirius
Mhm.
because I guess astronomically speaking, it's very close to Earth. It's only 8.7 light years from Earth. So they were involved with Earth's history from the very beginning. And I think overall their intentions started off being good. I think they just wanted to colonize this planet and see what they can make of it, because it's a very unique planet. I mean, there's none other like it in the entire galaxy. But I think the Syrians made mistakes. They made mistakes within their own history. And, they had quite a few conflicts in the beginning, not to the level that Orion had, but, because they had, quite a bit of diversity of beings living in their system. And so, there was some mistakes made. And then the Syrian High Council was established. And that was when things started getting more unified in Sirius. But they were sending, I would say, scientific teams to Earth, from the very beginning. I mean, it was, and there was other groups too that had also, so they say that Earth is a living library, that there was many star systems that has seeded DNA on planet Earth, including Earth humans, so we're all kind of a Heinz 52 of
Mhm.
Heinz 57, I'm sorry, Heinz 57 of
We're so
different
shy.
sources. I don't know. I call it, we're kind of like the hybrid children of,
Yep.
you
Yeah.
know, many different star lineages and star genetics. But I think, it was meant to be kind of this interesting experiment. But it kind of went down the wrong path for a while. And
Mhm.
so now we're, kind of looking at things and we're like, you know what, we need to have a little bit more direct involvement with, the destiny of planet Earth, and try to get ourselves back on track. So that's why many volunteers and Starseeds have chosen to be here at this time. And my understanding is that there were certain timelines that were created that was supposed to, I think, portend a destruction of Earth or a complete kind of totalitarian control of planet Earth, which have since been dismantled. So those timelines have been collapsed. And but when that happens, it creates, I would say, like a ripple effect on the existing timelines. So
Really curious. So part of what I have a boots on the ground, so like a
yeah,
physical team. We actually come together and we're builders.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we're building
yeah.
and doing these things and collapsing the old system.
Hmm.
It's curious how you see how time works,
Yeah.
because time is not how we see it, right? And
No,
so
it's not linear at all. Yeah.
when you see everything lined up,
Hmm.
and which means, and I've been saying this for a while, like right now, the reason Atlantis and those times are coming in so strong is because we're paralleling them.
Yeah,
We're like
exactly.
actually aligning everything the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
so all these memories are streaming in, which
Hmm.
means, if your records have been I would imagine that if someone says, Debbie, what does it say in the Akashic? I'm assuming you can see when something was tampered with, and
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
be like,
usually. Yeah.
okay, well, this says, and then we actually kind of get imprinted. I've seen like on DNA strands or mitochondrial DNA where things are like they're messed with, Debbie, and
Hmm.
quite
Hmm.
honestly, it upsets me. And then
Yes.
what that does is it puts your identity or a piece of your essence in a whole nother realm it wasn't even supposed to be in. And so you're kind of trapped there.
Yeah, this happens a lot. There's kind of like a parallel soul effect that happens where there's pieces of your soul that are in different dimensions, and they're not really supposed to be in these different dimensions. And so,
Mhm.
so I think a lot of us starseeds and light workers, we're spontaneously having either astral travels or dream sequences where we're visiting these alternate dimensions and doing the soul retrieval, so to speak. So we're having this experience, and this has happened to me a few times where I've had a dream and I was myself, but I was in a different body or a
Mhm.
different timeline. And, maybe I was male, maybe I was female, but I didn't look like the way I look now. Uh, and I knew exactly what was happening. It was like, oh, this is like this lost soul shard piece of me that I came here to retrieve. So it kind of feels like a walk-in experience. I know this sounds really crazy, but it feels like you're walking into another lifetime, but you're there to kind of retrieve your soul and bring it back,
Yep.
so um and my understanding with I think some of this dismantling of soul, just kind of this expansion of soul, but is over. It's an attempt to, I think, disengage us from our true mission, or disengage us from ascending, or because if you're spread thin like that, you're not going to be as effective,
That's right. You're
so
running around doing all the little things and not paying attention to the end game or
exactly, yeah.
the picture.
And which I think is part of the reason why I think so many people are having a hard time awakening right now, so, or maybe, maybe even if they are awake, they might be having a hard time getting themselves aligned with their true soul essence or their true mission, so a lot of people, when they feel like this, they come to me for a session called an Akashic clearing. And I know you do clearing work as well, but mainly what I'm doing with the Akashic clearings is I'm trying to repair your Akashic records. So I'm trying to get your Akashic records back to its original template, not all
Yes.
this,
All this other stuff, all these
all this false stuff that's in there. Yeah.
this brings another question up. Have you come across records that are sealed that cannot be opened? Like you're not allowed to open them, almost like a secret, like if someone's on a top secret mission.
Yeah, I have run across that. Not often, but there's some records I just have no access to.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll just tell the client, I'm not getting much out of your records,
Yeah.
just, and I had one client this happened to this, she was actually a Gaia employee, which is really
Mhm.
pretty bizarre, but I just told her I can't access your records. I don't know what's going on. And she got really upset. and she wanted her money back, which I gave her her money back. But it was just weird because you would think, somebody that worked at Gaia would be, a light worker, and maybe she was, but for some reason, I just didn't have access to her records. It was a very different experience. Usually when I do an Akashic reading, I get in contact or connection instantly. I mean,
Right.
it's like with me, I mean, I guess because I've been doing it a long time, a while, and I have a lot of practice in it. It's like I instantly. I mean, I'll get downloads even before I finish the pathway prayer process. But but with some people, it's like their records are sealed, and they're sealed for a reason. And you have to respect that. You can't try to pry it open. So there's some reason, maybe their higher self chose that, or it's usually the higher self for some reason. And the reasons can be varied, but I can sometimes even get records from people that came from different universes or different galaxies. So it's not that, oh, they came so far away that I can't access their records. It has nothing to do with it. It's because for some reason, their particular soul mission requires their records to be sealed, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. When we look at Andromeda and the fall, which created the Milky Way, right?
yeah.
How and I know we did a session together, and you looked at my records and said I came from the I think you said Milky Way, like the center. Is that Galactic Center?
The Galactic Center, yeah.
Yeah, Galactic Center.
Yeah.
But I feel this connection to Andromeda, and
Yeah.
feeling that connection of how the two used to be one. So when that's the case, do you see people that have a lot of Andromedan traits, or yeah?
Yeah.
I didn't know if they if they felt the same or not. They look so similar because they're like a fallen system of one from the other. But
yeah, Andromeda Galaxy, and I just want to iterate that there is a difference between Andromeda Galaxy and Andromeda Constellation. So they're two different locations. But the reason why Andromeda Galaxy is called Andromeda Galaxy is because from our vantage point here on Earth, when we look at it, it's within the Andromeda constellation, but it's actually much further away. But the Andromeda constellation, I pretty much think all of our soul essences came from Andromeda galaxy. Okay, not the constellation, but galaxy. I'm trying to get myself straight. I keep getting those two mixed up sometimes too. But so the galaxy is, I call it the mother galaxy because that's where the Milky Way was formulated. So scientists oftentimes will call Andromeda Galaxy our sister galaxy, but it's actually our mother galaxy.
Mother galaxy. Yeah. That's how. And when I do light language, it's from it feels like a mother. It feels like how that comes through is very mothering.
Yeah, I'm making a mess here. I'm just being. I'm just kind of all discombobulated today. But, yeah, the Andromeda Galaxy were the co-creators. So the beings that live there, these light beings, they were co-creator beings, and they created the Milky Way in order to give us kind of a backdrop for this, separation from source. This descent into physicality. Because Andromeda Galaxy itself is so high vibrational, it couldn't sustain, lower dimensions to have physicality. So my understanding from the records is that they created the Milky Way as kind of a mimicking the Andromeda Galaxy, or kind of looked like it, but had lower dimensions.
Like the souls then could step down to come through.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So the group, the Andromeda Galaxy group that were the co-creators of this particular project were the ones that accompanied the new galaxy. So that's why we see a lot of people that feel this like soul connection to the galaxy, or they feel like, oh, I'm from somewhere else, or and I think pretty much a lot of us have had, some essences of ourselves that came from that galaxy. But when we went through the Stargate of Antares, we went through this evolution. So we kind of went from being an oversoul to an individual soul. So it's Source's way of having a multitude of experiences. So the oversouls broke down into soul families, which broke down into individual souls. And so that's why we're all related to each other. We're all connected. So I get people that say, oh, I'm Arcturian, well, we all came from the same place, we all came from the source, so or they say, oh, I'm Andromedan, it's like, well, we all had a multitude of experiences. So
and when I look at dimensional selves, you can see like if I'm doing work and I need something that my Lyran self, for instance, specialized in, I will call in my 9D Lyran self.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
And if I want to bring in sound frequencies. I'll call in my 15D Andromedan self,
Mhm.
like, and just feel like what's happening here. And so when someone says they came, I'm X, Y, or Z, I'm
Mhm.
from wherever. Do you see that people mostly express as one, or do you see them in the multitudes that they are, like in percentages or something? Because I don't see that as well as you do. I don't go,
Yeah,
oh,
gotcha.
I know for sure you're Arcturian. I
Yeah.
would have to talk with you for a while to do that, where you get it, like you get that download right away.
Oh yeah, no, a lot of times I read the auric field and I just read frequency. And when I taught this class called recognizing extraterrestrial frequencies, which was basically training people how to look at the auric field and determine what star systems people are connected with. But I was using color, but actually you even go beyond color. So
Yeah.
you get to the point where you don't even have to look at color. You just feel that frequency, and you know that, oh, this person's had a lot of lifetimes in Andromeda, for instance. But getting back to your original question, yeah, I would say we're actually multidimensional beings, and we've had expressions of ourselves in probably quite a few different star systems. They might have been, maybe. So usually when I do an Akashic reading for somebody, I'll tell them, hey, you're a multidimensional soul, so you've been in a few systems, but I'm going to talk about the systems that have had the most influence on you, or that you're most connected with, or just to kind of simplify, the Akashic process. Because I mean,
We could go
otherwise
all day.
get bogged down. I could spend 5 hours talking about, their lifetimes in, I don't know, Capella or Polaris, or some remote star system. But a lot of times I'm just trying to look at the systems that have had, the most influence on who they are today. So to go back to what you were saying, yes, you can call in different aspects of yourself, so I identify as an Arcturian starseed, but I know that I have a connection with the Pleiades, I have a connection with Lyra, I have a connection with
Mhm.
Sirius, with Orion, so I've been in, quite a few systems,
Mhm.
so sometimes, if I'm doing something, I might say, well, that's kind of, I need to, implement my Orion self, to get
Mhm.
this done,
I,
or implement, I don't know, my Syrian self,
Mhm.
so there's, different aspects of ourselves, so we're not just, but as far as percentages, yeah, I would say maybe some people might have a greater percentage with Pleiadian energies, as opposed to, say, Arcturian, or some people might really identify with Andromeda, so there is that. But yeah, I would say you're definitely on the, you're definitely right on when you say that. We can call in different galactic aspects of ourselves for sure.
which I think is kind of fun.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
And needed. I guess, doing the kind of work that we do,
Yeah.
I think different aspects of self open up different access codes.
Hmm.
So, to different levels of information. I want to kind of go back to the Anunnaki for a second, because this is like eating at me. So, there's all of this talk right now about uh, like Enki coming back, and
Hmm.
Enki is actually Anunnaki. So there are some people saying that Enki is sorry for his family's ways, and he's here to reprogram, or he's here to give us back our divine human angelic template. He's like, I got you, no worries, we're fixing this kind of thing. I don't see Enki that way. And so I'm wondering if I'm dying to hear your take on this, because I don't see the Anunnaki or Enki in any way, shape, or form like our buddy, nor do I see him as a truther. So,
Yeah, I kind of have mixed feelings about that too, because sometimes I'll get clients that tell me, wow, I really identify with Enki. I was part of his team, or, and I'm like, okay, that if that's what you feel, that's great, but I kind of see it more as an archetype than an actual being.
okay.
Okay. like this is kind of like the savior archetype, that was repeated multiple times with, Horus in Egypt, and Jesus and, the Middle East, and, Buddha in Asia, so we have this archetype of this savior being, which is actually not a savior at all. They were more way showers, so they were just here kind of to show us or help us achieve a higher state of consciousness. As far as Enki is concerned, I don't know. I don't buy into the idea that I don't think the Anunnaki's coming back. This, first of all. I mean, I just don't see that happening. I think their time has passed. And, they've gone on to, maybe other horizons, I don't know, but I don't see that really history repeating itself in that way. I think if we're going to be doing any kind of upgrades of DNA or whatever, we're going to be the ones to do it for ourselves.
Yeah, I agree
So,
with you. And
yeah,
how we can or cannot with geoengineering connect into the codes that
yeah,
are coming into our planet that are divinely being divinely sculpted and ironically thwarted. So that's kind of how I see that.
yeah.
Gosh,
But I mean, but I think it's a cute idea, though. I mean, I think I'm not trying to make fun of it or anything, but I think it's kind of an interesting idea. I mean, I don't know if I completely buy into it, but
mhm.
I think if anybody is going to be our saviors, is going to be ourselves.
That's
We're
what
going to be
I,
the
yep.
ones.
I 100% agree with you.
Yeah,
Nobody's coming to save you, not on a cloud, not in a ship, not on a whatever.
yeah,
It's really about the awakening.
yeah.
And I see that as not Jesus coming back, but like really the rising of the sun or the rising of the Christ or how
Christ consciousness. Yeah,
that
yeah,
Christ
yeah,
consciousness, yeah, how
yeah.
that rises in your bodies and how your
Mhm.
bodies are aligning. So yeah, that's really fascinating to me. Um, I was going to say something else about that. Oh, I completely lost it, but it was going to be about the Anunnaki. Oh, and it was going to actually be about the rise of the Antichrist. Have you seen anything like that in the records or how that's being thrown out as well?
Again, I think that's more allegorical. So I don't think there's one person that is the antichrist. I mean, that's maybe my own interpretation of what I see. I think the antichrist is actually the dark cabal that has been trying to thwart our ascension process for millennia. So I think it's been an ongoing thing for quite a while, but they too are losing power. They're losing their grip on the planet. They're aware of it. And so they're pulling out all stops, trying to make sure that, things don't happen the way they're supposed to, which is, the ascension from 3D to 5D, because they want to maintain that control. Okay. So I don't think, again, it's an individual. So I don't, some people were saying, Barack Obama was the Antichrist. Other people were saying Donald Trump was the Antichrist.
Right.
And I don't really believe it's one individual. I think it was more a certain group that, was trying to maintain, control and power, which has maintained control and power with, our banking systems, and our social economic systems and everything else, religion, government, etc. But I do think seeing things are dismantling as we speak,
Yep.
so
Yep. So,
it's at a very rapid rate. We just don't see it on the surface because it's all kind of happening behind the scenes. But
yep. But we can see it in uh, the way people are behaving. Uh,
oh
we,
yeah,
we
totally, yeah.
we can see kind of this craziness in society and how they're behaving, how we treat each other, and just kind of some
I
of the
think there's
stuff.
more of a polarization going on right
Yeah,
now where,
yeah, yes.
yeah, I mean, where there's, folks that are, like you and me and, other people that are in our camp, that are like, hey, I'm on board with the ascension. I want, better things for this planet. And And then we're seeing the people that are refusing, either consciously or unconsciously refusing to be part of the ascension, and they just want to stay mired in the 3D. And so we're going to see more of a separation
Yes.
between us,
Yep.
where their worlds are not going to really be impacting our worlds and vice versa, where
Yeah.
even, and this might even play out in the sense of maybe there's going to be certain people that we're not going to be interacting with anymore, for various, people are just going to drop out of our lives, and
It reminds me of Lemuria. I have a memory that, and this was, I think, before the fires.
mm-hmm.
I can't remember, but where I specifically remember being able to go into basically different dimensions quite easily and regularly.
Mm-hmm.
You could go down to 3D, you could go to 5, you could be in 7. And so I kind of feel like at one point we went from like fifth dimension, and
Mm-hmm.
like part of the beings left
Mm-hmm.
moved into seventh dimension. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that's like in my head or how that's in my memory, but I feel like it's going to be something similar to that. And right now we're mirroring that. mm, I guess I'm going to call it an AI timeline, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how else it feels artificial, more metallic,
Mm-hmm.
like in Atlantis, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, right before everything kind of went like weird.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
kind of how it feels. That's how our money system feels right now. It feels like all this stuff is just going to be like, what's going on? But I wanted to share. Uh, Miss Ann Jules is saying Akashic in alchemy are the vibrations of the creator source, same frequency sounds as God, Allah,
Mm-hmm.
Muhammad. And I think that that's really
But I think it does
beautiful.
mean life, right, in a Sanskrit, so that would make sense, so
Hmm.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And Susan is sharing that she's skeptical as well, if as anyone is saying they're from a higher galactic realm here to help you. And there's things to definitely things to see, uh,
Mm-hmm.
to definitely to see there. So.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. Stephanie shares the word in Aramaic for God is Alua.
Mm.
Alua. So that's beautiful.
That is beautiful. I don't think I've ever heard that description before, but I like it. I like it better than Jehovah. So
I do.
Jehovah has, I think, some negative connotations now because of I think, association with the Anunnakis.
Yep,
So.
I agree. Do you ever read any of Lisa Renee's work, or have you ever looked at like the stuff that she
Oh
does?
yeah. I'm a big. I wouldn't say I've delved into her work lately, but I have read quite a bit of her work, and I'm a big fan of what she does. I think I can't say I 100% agree with everything that she shares, but I would say pretty overall, I think she's pretty right on. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What is your take what is your take on who the guardians are?
Hmm.
Like how do you see them? Um, Me particularly, I don't see them as any um, one kind of source, like one, not like
Like
maybe,
one race of beings,
yeah,
or
not one race of beings. I see
I
them
see
as,
it more like a collective.
yeah, me
Like
too.
kind of like the watchers or like the
Mhm.
collective, but
Mhm. Yeah.
like the overseers of the experiment. So they met.
Overseers of the experiment. That's so perfect.
Yeah, they're the overseers of the. I mean,
Yeah.
and actually, we're all part of the guardians since we're here on Earth. So we're
Yeah.
we're all because I think I used this was Lisa Renee's. I use kind of Lisa Renee's self-sovereignty invocation when I do Akashic clearance. And one of the things she says is, or is mentioned in this invocation is that we all came here as a guardian of the earth, so we're all the guardians, so we're all part of this collective, we're all here having this experience, and part of why I use the self-sovereignty invocation when I do Akashic clearings is because not only because it's beautifully written, but because it disconnects us from anything that's false in our field. So that includes any false tampering with the records. And it reconnects us with our original cosmic blueprint, as divine children of the universe, so we're all, omnipresent, powerful beings. It's just that when we go through this 3D experience, we forget, that, hey, I'm really a divine being, I'm just having this really strange human experience here on this little planet called Earth,
Really strange, really
really
strange.
strange.
What
Yeah.
what happens in the Akashic records when someone walks in? Like you're just a walk-in. Do you still have like can you tell how do
Oh
you
yeah, I do readings for walk-ins all the time. So I mean, well, maybe not all the time, but
Mhm.
quite more often than you think. And a lot of times it clearly indicates when a soul has left,
Mhm.
so a lot of times if I'm working with, say, somebody's physical body, I see like the records of their old soul and also the records of their new soul, so their walk-in soul. So a lot of times I can tell, like, okay, your old soul came from Earth and decided it didn't want to be a part of this lifetime, or had, and sometimes this might even be an agreement that has been agreed upon or solidified even before the incarnation. So the old soul kind of, comes in with the physical body that gets born, but then at some point it steps out, and then the walk-in soul comes in. And a lot of times the walk-in soul is usually from a higher dimensional realm. So it's usually a higher dimensional soul. It's usually Andromeda or Arcturus is what I see most commonly, but sometimes it might even be from some other universe or some other place. And they've had this agreement in order to accomplish like some sort of mission.
Mhm.
So it's either that, or they just decided, you know what, if you don't want to be here, I'll take over. I'll
Mhm.
take over this,
Mhm.
this incarnation. But a lot of times there's some sort of a mission that occurs when this soul steps in. There's a reason why they decided to step in.
And it could be a genetic or family mission too, right?
Oh,
Maybe.
totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, it could be maybe clearing of ancestral karma, or maybe what I'm seeing a lot now with a lot of my clients is that a lot of them are going through old stuff that they went through in Atlantis. Speaking of Atlantis, and
Speaking of.
oh yeah, the Atlantean. And Edgar Casey did a lot of work around this. I mean, I love Edgar Casey. He was like the forefather, or the founding father of the Akashic Records here on
Mhm.
Earth. But he was seeing this pattern of, okay, this person had an Atlantean incarnation, they made some bad decision, and so now they're trying to make things right. So a lot of these souls are choosing to be born in, I would say, first world countries, particularly the United States, but also Canada or the UK, or countries that are, maybe on the first world level, in
Mhm.
order to play out these Atlantean, I would say, patterns that they're trying,
Mhm.
or,
Yep.
karmic loops that they're trying to close,
Yep.
So, yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of the kids, I'm going to say age 10 and under,
Mhm.
coming with completely different systems.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah,
They're
they're
not
not
even
carrying the same karma we are. Not at
not
all.
even close. Their bodies look different. They don't have and so many of us, our chakra system is so infiltrated and stuck, so our bodies can't move into the orb bodies we're supposed to go into, right? And it's like they're already they don't have a chakra system like that. It's completely different. And
Your chakras are wide open. So a lot of times when you're working with little kids, you're not even seeing, like, the one or two colors you see in their auric field. You're just seeing this rainbow of
it is
color.
a huge plasma rainbow. One of the little boys I was working actually on his mom, and he came in during session, and he started showing me these crystalline immune system codes that they're bringing into the planet, which I thought was like really cool, especially with all that we're seeing happening. So I don't know, in the records, have you seen a mass exodus happening?
Oh, totally,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing is, I think a lot of souls that have not signed up for the ascension are choosing to check out now. So that's why we're seeing like a lot of deaths, like, um, even with famous people, like a lot of people are just checking out. And and the rest of us are just hanging on for the ride. So yeah, so the rest of us
Holding on, white knuckle or white knuckling.
and I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, let's get this done and over with.
It's
So
like that ride when that spins really fast
yeah,
and
yeah, the spinning
against the
ride.
wall and then the floor drops out, right?
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah, exactly. It feels like that. Um, but I don't know. It's like a lot of people talk about the event, but I don't know how you feel about this. I see it more like a series of smaller events rather than one big, huge event. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's I'm in alignment with a series of smaller events because I think if there were one big event, it would not be good for a lot of souls. I don't think I think that the integration of information would be too much, and I believe we would maybe lose more to psychosis than we wanted to.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. I think
yeah,
it would just be an overload of
it's too much.
upgrades, too
Yeah,
much for, I would say, the majority of individuals here on Earth.
yeah,
So
and
we have to kind of gradually work into this DNA upgrade.
yeah,
So,
yep. And
uh,
I think it's going quite well. Because when you look in the higher realms, you can see
yeah,
so much cleared and moved around. And we have to remember that everything that happens out here takes time to come down into the body. Once it's in the body, if something is, that's how I always like looked at massage when I was doing massage. Like if it's
yeah,
in the body, it's because you ignored it at the spirit
yeah,
level.
yeah,
And then it
exactly.
went down to the soul level and you ignored it there. And now it's just going to kind of punch you in the face. And now you're
It
limping,
happens
right?
a lot with illness too, especially very serious illnesses. Is that we get plenty of warnings. I mean, there's plenty of like I would say spiritual red flags that occur, with and then I think because we just get so distracted with the 3D and with our everyday lives, we stubbornly, ignore the signs, and then all of a sudden, we're diagnosed with cancer, or with something, pretty serious.
All, yep. Yeah. So you have some really fun. You're going to have a really fun workshop. I think this will be your second workshop you've put together. And are you going to teach people? Maybe it's more than your. I went to your first workshop, and that was about the reading the colors.
Yeah,
To
the colors. Yeah, the recognize. Yeah, that one
yeah,
actually was real popular. The
I
recognizing
love that.
extraterrestrial frequencies. We're still going to do the webinars. We're trying to do those every quarter. So we're just doing it on. I think the next one's going to be on anti-aging for Starseeds. So that might be of interest to people. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
that would be cool.
yeah, we're integrating like actual science with spirituality. So it's
Well,
going to be.
and I've been seeing, and we actually just worked on this morning, and we
Mm,
were talking, and we're going to go back and look and see what's going on as when it was implanted or indicated that our age is shorter.
yeah,
So, and I know now we're moving back to
yeah.
living longer and better, but yeah, how do we finish unwinding that? So I bet that's going to be a really great class.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I think it's going to be very timely. I'm hoping to offer it maybe I'm going to be out of town for a while, so it might not happen until March, but it was supposed to happen in January. But we're also going to offer some more in-depth training. So, people want to learn to do what I do, which is, reading the Galactic Akashic Records. We are offering a 8-week course on how to read the Galactic Akashic Records. It's going to be very in depth, a lot of videos, a lot of supplemental materials, Zoom meetings, so we'll be meeting once a week on Zoom or Google Meet, but it's going to be really in depth. And so I'm going to be training others to do what I do. Because I can't do all the Akashic readings on the planet,
I know, right?
Yeah, so we need to get some other folks.
Yep.
But what I find, even with, it's not just, I would say the monetary aspect of it or the business aspect of it. That's not the reason why I'm training people to do this, because when you learn these skills, it opens up your higher galactic skills, so then, you start becoming more psychic, or you start becoming more intuitive, or more in tune, more telepathic, so there's kind of an underlying reason why I'm teaching these courses, is to get people more in tune with those abilities, so that, they too can do their, do the same kind of work I do, and or incorporate it into the work that they're currently doing. So
yeah, I think it's beautiful. I think even a lot of light workers, Deb, don't know how to go into the Akashic records.
No, there's probably, I would say the vast majority of us right now don't know how to do that. And we all have access to the records. Like I said, even dark beings have access to the records. So
they're all
dark
over.
beings have access to the records, and we should be having
exactly
access to the records. Okay, so
they know us better than we know us.
No, they do, and it's really sad. I mean, it's sad because I have a lot of respect sometimes for the dark forces, because they're really on top of the extra dimensional realms, and they've been working in these realms, I would say, for millennia, and now we're just kind of catching up, and it's light workers. And so but there is karmic repercussions for them too, if they're in there switching around our records and stuff. So
absolutely.
So they may think they're getting away with it, but they're not really getting away with it.
Here's my message to them today: you better start running.
Oh yeah, totally.
You better start running, because we're waking up, and we're waking up in droves, and it's just. And right now, I think, gosh, it's a friend of ours, actually, Kat, said there never really was a veil. We're just now starting to see what what was always there.
Oh, it was always there. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So there's no veil falling. It's just that we're waking up to be able to actually see all that is. And aside from some portals being opened that weren't previously open, and some nefarious things going on, but little bit of protection, and a little bit of protection goes a long way.
It sure does. Yeah. Get those my techniques in place. For sure.
Yeah. So okay. So quarterly in March you're going to have.
My guess is probably early March we'll have another webinar, and then we're probably going to offer the Akashic training. I'm thinking probably April, but I have a lot of I would say public appearances next year, so kind of I'll be on Portal to Ascension, not just once but twice next month, so this January. So if you're a fan of Portal to Ascension,
I've never seen it. I'm going to watch it now, though.
Oh yeah, you should. It's really, they get some really awesome speakers on that. And then I'll be doing a live presentation, and also I'll have a little booth and everything at the Sedona Ascension Retreat in March. So I'll be in Sedona for a few days, and I think there's some folks that are going to be coming with me, just members of my team, but my hubby will be there too. So we're just all going to have a great time in Sedona, but yeah, there's some really exciting things. You'll see me on Deep Space, and I think there's another Open Minds that you'll see me on if it hasn't been released already. But I think they're going to have me on Open Minds again. So you'll continue to see me on some of the Gaia shows. accounts.
I'm excited. So you guys can find Debbie and her work. You can go to debbiesolaris.com. Is that correct?
Right, yep, that's
Yeah.
it.
So
And
DDIESOLARIS. Yeah.
IRS, yeah. And sorry, I didn't mean.
No, you're good. We're just
And
gonna
then
we're gonna echo it out.
yeah, you also can see me on Instagram. There's a lot of fake accounts that are pretending to be me. So I don't know. I mean, you might want to check for me on Instagram, but I would say YouTube's probably a better bet. So
Okay. I think I have your real account.
okay,
So if
sounds
you
good.
guys like look at mine, then you'll know I'm only following one Debbie, one Debbie Solaris, to the best of my
It's my
knowledge.
name is spelled the way it's supposed to be spelled. So if you see some sort of variation, it's probably a fake account. So,
Probably. All right. So debbiesolaris.com. You can also sign up through for Gaia through you. So
yeah,
on your website, so you can watch all of the shows that she's on, all the interviews and all that fun stuff. I'm
yeah.
so excited we got to
Well,
be
thank you
together.
for having me. This has been
Yeah,
really what an awesome conversation.
I
And
know. I love it.
yeah, so thank you so much for having me back on. And I'm just looking forward to, I would say, just the ascension and
I
see
know. Me too.
what happens from here. So maybe another couple of years we'll
In
sort of
another
check back
couple,
in and
we'll
say,
we'll
okay,
make it a biannual event.
yeah, like, okay, well, hopefully it's more often than that.
Yeah, I
But
would like that.
yeah, but I think it was just a lot of things going on in the last 2 years.
Oh, it's
But
been crazy. It's been
yeah,
crazy. And I can't wait until all of this unwinds and is brought out and we can all begin to heal from that because I think that I think that's another reason there's going to be that mass exodus and then
yeah, I believe that too, actually.
bringing in what we can with some walk-ins. Oh, before you go, when all of this started, I saw a huge amount of walk-ins in the Taurus constellation. Do you see that?
Hmm.
Or was that maybe just an option that is bypassed? I don't see them anymore. So I don't know if they were like, I was seeing them as walk-ins, but I'm wondering now if they were the ones that were exiting. And so,
I did see some Pleiadian souls exiting the planet. So it could have been walk-ins that were previously on the planet and have returned to the Taurus constellation because that's where the Pleiades is located. But yeah, and some of the readings I've done, some of the exiting souls were Pleiadian souls,
okay.
and they were being replaced by Andromedan souls usually.
Got it. That would make sense because we need more of that sound frequency here.
Frequency, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So there, the Pleiadians came just kind of anchoring things, and then they kind of stepped aside for the Andromedan souls to come in because now is the right time. We're doing this kind of starseed study on just different trends with different generations of starseeds, and one of the things that we're seeing already is that the third wavers, that's the kids that were born in the 90s and the 2000s, we're seeing a big influx of Andromedan souls.
Wow.
More
Yep.
so than the previous generations. So
Yep. I think that makes sense with the vibrations we're seeing and the
yeah.
new immune system templates they're weaving in and all kinds of good stuff. So
Oh yeah.
let's
Totally.
hope for humanity yet.
Yeah. Let's hope that those Andromedan souls and all the other high dimensional souls keep coming in. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for having
Nice
me.
to see you. debbiesolaris.com, you guys. Thank you for being here with
Thank
us.
you everybody for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.